I am a failure. By definition, a lack of success, a lack or deficiency of a desirable quality, the omission of expected or required action. A failure. To understand why I say this, you really have to listen to that last part. The omission of expected or required action. A failure. Good afternoon, Mr. Kidd, Miss Bet, and to everyone listening today. I'm sure we have all been in a situation where we've been faced with an opportunity or an expected outcome, but have been consumed by the thought of failing. It's a debilitating thought process where we decide to discount our own abilities in the face of what we perceive as a challenge. We choose to silently suffer with our fears and continue with self-doubt because we are so afraid to fail. Now more than ever, it feels like we are constantly being judged, watched, and evaluated by the people around us. The climate of society today sort of feeds on our insecurities and compels us to stick to the status quo. We keep to our own bubbles of safety rather than to push the boundaries and endure the consequences that might accompany failure. Why is that? Many of us cannot see the point of taking chances when we feel as if failure is completely inevitable. On a biological level, we as humans are unique because of our ability to reason. It is essential to our knowledge of the world, and we wouldn't be much different from animals without it. Nonetheless, faced with setbacks and the ups and downs of life, our desire for logic could easily engulf us in a vicious cycle of pessimism. It pays to be real about things with yourself, I promise. It keeps you grounded. However, we are also creatures of emotion. Our reasoning is swayed by thoughts and feelings that elude our current bias. If this sounds really personal, it's because it is. I'm guilty of this myself, and it sounds a little bit like this. I failed that math test. Am I even smart enough to be in this class? I wish I was as smart as everyone else. So I study harder. Another test, another assignment. I failed again. What's the point? No matter how hard I try, I know I'll fail. I failed again. No surprise. I'll never be good at math. For the most part, this cycle appears as a series of thoughts in the form of questions and statements that I pose to myself, which usually results in a depressing feeling of mediocrity. I end up telling myself it's not worth it to try. Yet under those words is a fear of putting my all into something again and again and again and again and again to no avail. However, I realize if I continue to fall into this cycle, I would be letting go of opportunities and chances of what could have been. In the words of Dennis Waitley, failure should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. It is a temporary detour, not a dead end. Failure is something we can only avoid by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. At the end of the day, you are your own worst enemy. If you choose to submit to fear, you choose to do nothing. I fear regret more than I do failure. Failure is painful and pain is temporary, but regret is a burden that will weigh you down with thoughts of what if forever. A while from now, I want to be able to look back and say I did as opposed to I wish. Regret leads you to wonder about the past in an attempt to salvage it. It only amplifies the feeling of failure in the end. I think about this paradox a lot. How is it that many of us possess an innate passion to do something or to achieve something, but when confronted with failure, we completely talk ourselves out of it? I finally was able to understand why when I learned about the theory of our two minds. It encompasses the idea that we are separated from our thoughts. Our consciousness is divided into two thought streams, the thinking mind and the observing mind. Essentially, you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. The thinking mind is always chattering. It fuels the never-ending discourse in your head that is completely disconnected from your control, and you know that. The observing mind is more centered. It allows us to recognize our thoughts and is completely grounded in awareness. Most of our emotional stress happens because our thinking mind and observing mind are fused together, and we don't recognize the difference. If you are nervous or afraid to do the things you actually like and want to do, I encourage you to learn to separate your two minds. For example, there's a difference between I'm afraid and I feel fear. However subtle, it's there. Observe the emotion, but do not let it control you. Emotions are not a choice. Behavior is. Now, I know you've probably heard this speech a million times. I bet the cliche idea that failure is necessary for success has been framed and fed to you in almost every way. So much so, it isn't uncommon to see the word fail as a mnemonic device for first attempt at learning in every woke teacher's classroom. For those of you who are actually listening, I really don't want to bore you by pretending to be a motivational speaker up here, but I want you to open your minds during this speech and think about what it means to have courage to fail. Excuse my language, but failing sucks. It really does. I hate feeling like I've given my all only to fall short of expectations I had for myself and the expectations of others. Or to be the worst at something that is seemingly easy for everybody else. Objectively, failure is a direct jab at my pride, and it isn't easy to handle. Although with every shortcoming comes a new experience, a new perspective. Having the courage to fail propels us to progress towards the people we yearn to be. However, if you choose to avoid failure, you choose to avoid growth. No matter how cliche this lesson might be, it continues to reveal its importance to me in every facet of my life, especially at Ridley. We go to a school in a very competitive environment with a collection of great athletes and great minds, arguably. It's hard not to put yourself down when it feels like everyone else is doing something you can't. Yet, that's completely far from the truth. Everyone must fail at some point, and it's an important step in building character. Becoming a boarder at 10 years old at Ridley has given me an abundance of opportunities to fail. I've felt the stress and pressure of every aspect of Ridley life, but as a result, I found courage and strength in my own abilities. I picked up the pieces to build myself back up every time I didn't meet my own expectations. Now, I'm not glorifying suffering, but by any means, but remember that diamonds are created under pressure. I want to finish with a Bible verse that has stuck with me since the day I read it. It's taken from the book of 2 Corinthians. I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Take what you need from this verse. Whether you are religious or not, this word holds true to everyone. I challenge you to have courage to fail. Courage to say something, to do something, to be something. Thank you.